You're good.
All right. We are rolling. Technically,
No, it's
rolling. It's our second of the new year.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Is this the first of the
Yes,
new year?
We did New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was New Year's Eve. That's right. So this is our first broadcast of 2025.
2025 to all the listeners of
happy-
the Best Boys Center Ice podcast.
Happy New Year. How long do you say Happy New Year for?
Well, I mean,
We're
I'll
already
say this
eight-
is it. This is it. This is the
Okay,
last
this
time
is
I've
your-
said
yeah.
it. I've done it at work when I've been talking to my members at work on the phone, but
Yeah.
for a few days, and after like maybe the fourth is like, okay, oh, we might be witnessing
You could be doing the show by
we might be
yourself.
witnessing me calling EMS here in about 15 minutes. So
You could be doing the show by yourself.
I'm just posting here.
Okay. All right. Well, it's an interesting show today.
Yes, it is.
A lot going on, and we are previewing the Best Boys going against one another tomorrow night in Pittsburgh.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll
I'm
talk
kind
about
of
that.
nervous.
And I'm nervous. Pittsburgh is a lot better team than what you saw in Edmonton
Yes,
earlier this year. So I'm a little bit nervous about going into Pittsburgh for the Oilers. Again, welcome to the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. We're on a day later today. I haven't been feeling very good, so I'm better today. I got my son with me here, and we are going to, as we always do, talk the NHL, talk the Penguins, talk the Oilers. Lots to talk about. But we want to say
first, we want to give a shout out to Shemaya Reed and the Refocused Radio Network.
That's right.
You can catch all of our past episodes and future episodes. Normally, we release those a day after we record on the Refocused Radio Network. So thank you to Shemaya, as well as there you can catch our friend Rudy Campos Jr. and Sweep the League.
Mm-hmm.
He has plenty of good sports talk that is not hockey related. Most of it's NBA, college football, MLB, NFL. Now it's going to be really winding up because you down to the last four teams of the college football playoff.
And ASU was so close.
Yep, it was a good game. And then you got the NFL wild card round starting this weekend, so that's going to be busy.
And you and Rudy could talk bowling
yes,
too.
Yes, we could. Rudy's a very good bowler as well. So we've met many times in the lanes the past few years, and it's cool to get that collaboration. So we do the hockey, as Dad says. We always do the hockey point of it, and he's, to his credit, he's been learning a little bit.
Yep.
And then he also, again, you've mentioned Sweep Unplugged, so where they more just talk life outside of sports. It's pretty cool, and on that network, there's plenty of other shows about different topics there. So catch out that show there, as well as our Best Boys Center Ice podcast. You can also catch that, as Dad likes to say, on Spreaker.com the day after he uploads it there. So this will be uploaded on Thursday. And then you're also able to catch us on the Best Boys Center Ice podcast on YouTube, where we upload all of our past recordings of our episodes and live streams.
And anything we do live, like Carson's going to be going to Pittsburgh this weekend.
Yes.
And he'll be doing some live stuff that we'll post.
We're going to try. I'm hoping this year maybe we'll have a bit of a better luck this year, maybe doing something bigger for the playoffs, because once the Stanley Cup playoffs come around, I'd like the idea of, we're going to be on a lot more, because we're going to be doing all the games, not just, okay, if the Penguins and Oilers both make it, it's going to be every game. We're going to try to at least recap it or talk about it, because those playoffs move so quick. But following us on those pages does help us out, because the more followers and subscribers we can get, then it'll be easier for us to live stream on different platforms and maybe do different formats of things. So if we end up doing like live streams for a game, I've seen those they're pretty cool, where the creators are watching the game and commenting on the game as it's going along. So you don't see the actual screen, but you're able to hear us talking about the game and what we're seeing. And even if you're following along, watching it on your TV, you're able to hear what we think about what you're seeing on your screen. But yeah, thank you to all of our supporters and all the people who keep the show going on the road. And I think I did a pretty good job of introing.
You did a great job. You're going to take over doing the intro. I want to invite everybody on Facebook Live to join us and talk about your favorite teams. We got some Ranger fans out there. We've got some Predator fans out there. We've got, of course, a lot of Flames fans too. We've got a lot of fans out there. Dallas Stars, of course. We're just a little bit south of Dallas. So come on out and tell us what do you think. We're midway through the season. We'll get through our midway season. But as we always do, we start with the week that was for both teams. Why don't you start
Yep.
with the Pittsburgh
Okay.
Penguins?
All right. So on paper, it's not fantastic, but for a very good reason, I'm not the most upset with it this week since we last recorded, which was New Year's Eve. They were going on a game at the same time against the Detroit Red Wings, which they lost in regulation, and then they followed that up with three straight overtime losses or shootout losses. The Detroit loss was very gutting because they just did not play very well, and Detroit was having a little bit of a fire lit under them. They just fired Derek Lalonde and brought in Todd McClellan, and they won their first game with him as their head coach against us. But very disappointing effort that night because they could have closed out that new year really strong after beating the Islanders on the home and home. And it just didn't happen. They tied the game twice, and then at the end of that game, they got a power play with about halfway in the third period, and they didn't convert. Detroit got one later on in the period and converted. That was the difference in the game. But that's one of those games. It's going to happen. Again, all NHL teams at this point are pretty darn good at any point in time. So losses like that are going to happen. Then we had on a really tough set this last weekend, which I'm really happy with the result. The Florida Panthers, we started on Friday night, and we lost that game in a shootout. Again, the Penguins battled back in this game to tie it to get the point. Very huge. That maybe we've mentioned this many times last year, especially, but the later on in the season we get, the more important that points are going to be. The points system in the NHL, I've talked about this, I know, last season when we recorded, but it's a very unique system, different from a lot of other sports. The only sport that does something like this is soccer. Soccer does a point system as well, but it's a completely different set they do. The NHL has it where every game that you win, no matter if it's regulation or shootout overtime, no matter what mean of winning it is, you get 2 points for winning that game. You lose in regulation at all, 0 points. However, if you advance to overtime or the shootout, you're given at least 1 point for making it that far in the game. And then at that point, the overtime or shootout is just battling for who gets the extra point in the game. So crucial that the Penguins get a point in this game against a team that they've really struggled against as of late. They did beat them in their first matchup this season, which was nice. But a big point, definitely disappointing to lose, that's for sure. But it was a good game, and they tied the game with about 40 seconds left. So huge point to get. I'll gladly take that. Then they had to play the team who I think has been the biggest bugaboo for this team the last many of years. It's between them and New Jersey, but the Carolina Hurricanes in Raleigh. The last of their matchups this season, division rival. All right, well, really division foe. I don't call this really a big rivalry. The Canes have owned it. But the Carolina Hurricanes do win this game. But again, it's an extra time, 4-3 in overtime. So disappointing in the fact that the Penguins go up 2-0 early in this game. They kind of let their foot off the gas in the second, and the Canes just took over the game. Luckily, in the third, they did tie the game and made it all the way to overtime. But the overtime is about a minute and a half long, and the Penguins didn't have the puck the whole time. And very frustrating. That's the only thing I don't like about the overtime is that teams can just ring around the rosy the puck for as long as they want. And that's what the Canes did. Literally, they were going in the zone. They didn't like what they saw. They were exiting out, but it doesn't really allow a change unless you're going to just take the risk and jump off to go. Yeah. And that's pretty much what they did. And they took advantage of a change. Orlov took a shot on net, and it was a big rebound out, and Aho scored that goal. That was the 600th point also in the league, which is pretty neat to see that. But again, not the best result to lose, but to get a point, again, all the importance of that. I'll take it. And then last night's game, again, disappointing result. Extra time loss once again to the Columbus Blue Jackets this time, which the Jackets are not a write-off team this year. They're not as weak as they normally are. They're a very good team, very young team, and they've been playing for a good reason with the Gaudreau stuff happening this summer. But the Penguins up 3-1 in the third, and I don't even want to say they really collapsed because I feel like they didn't play that bad. I mean, the Jackets did hold majority of the offensive zone time, but the Penguins were managing it well. And unlike the games where they really collapse and like fall apart and blow leads, they didn't really do that. The Jackets got a really lucky bounce on the second goal they scored. It was a play behind the net, and it was a pass that was passed up beside the crease, and it went off of like 3 different people and right to the goal mouth, and literally the guy's stick was right there and slammed it. Goal. Okay. Then about 3 minutes left in the game, the Penguins take a penalty, a slashing penalty, which wasn't a penalty. I mean, it wasn't. They call a slash, and he didn't barely tap the stick, and they called it.
Ticky tack.
Very
Yeah.
ticky tacky. Like, I don't even think that's called in the preseason. That's how bad of a penalty it
Mhm.
was. But again, the Jackets score on the power play to tie the game. You go to OT. The Penguins control the overtime. They don't score, and then they go to shootouts where they're just miserable. They're not very good in the shootout, and the Jackets win. So disappointing. Yes, you like the 2 points, but I will say, for a team that is on a little bit of a skid, they're getting points in these losses. Which,
Mhm.
you know what? I was thinking about it last night and this morning. Yeah, they're losing, but look at the Islanders. They've made money off of going to the playoffs by losing so many games in
Yeah.
extra time that it almost seems like it's going to work. I mean, the Penguins are right there in the playoff race. And before we get to your stuff with Oilers, I'm just going to touch on this, and I want to get to this later in the show because it's going to be important to talk about, because these points are all the more important. And then I'll get to what our schedule is for the week. This Eastern Conference playoff race is going to be ridiculous. You're going to literally have 7 teams probably battling for that wild card
Yeah.
spot. The last 2 wild card spots. I pretty much honestly think that the division standings are pretty much set. The Metro and the Atlantic, those 3 teams that are in there. So the Metro's got Washington, New Jersey, and Carolina. I think they're pretty much set to be in the top 3. And then in the Atlantic, you're going to have Tampa Bay up there. They're in the first wild card, but they've got like 5 games in hand and everybody else. So they're going to make it up there. Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Florida. But then the wild card is just, you've got the first 2 wild card spots all the way down to like 3rd to last, 4th to last, 2nd to last, whatever, are within like a couple points. It's going to literally be down to the last game again, which for me, having one of my team being one of those teams, not very fun. Because I know it's going to literally come down to game 81, 82. But you know what? As a hockey fan, I'm excited because it's going to be a battle of who gets
Meaningful
in.
games
And
all the way
the
through.
teams that get in those spots are going to be very deserving of getting them, because there's a lot of good teams that are in this mix. There are a lot of good teams that could make some noise. But yes, so not very pretty. But if you look at it, if you really combine the 2 of the OTLs, they were 1-1-1, which really getting points. And I think it's now 5 out of the last 6 games they've gotten points, or 6 out of the last 7.
You want to keep getting points.
Yes, and they've been playing pretty good. I will say they have been playing well. Ricard Raquel, 20 goals, and last year he only had 15 the whole season, and he's already at 20 halfway through.
Every time that I see the score sheet, he's on it.
Yep, him and my buddy Bunting.
Yep,
I think he might. With the way he's been doing, I feel like he might lead the league in power play goals this year. Every time I text you that he scores, it's a power play goal.
Yeah.
And, I'll just touch on this, and then I'll get to our week coming, and then you can go the Oilers. I'm very impressed. Other than the PK has been kind of struggling the last few games, I'm very impressed by the special teams from this group. They're 5th on the power play in the NHL. The largest turnaround of any team on the power play this season from last year. They were 30th. Now they're in 5th. PK, they're like 12th. That can be worked on, but I'm really impressed with it. They've been scoring a power play goal every night, which is great. You want that to be a difference for this team. That's why they're getting so many more goals. But to get on to this week that is upcoming, tomorrow we'll touch on this again later on this show, the Battle of the Best Boys tomorrow, the last time this season, as the Oilers head to Pittsburgh to play the Penguins tomorrow night. It's going to be a great game. I'll be at work during the game, but I'm going to be watching it. Trust me, while I'm there.
I'm going to be work too, but I'm going to be watching that thing.
And then,
because it's a 6:00 game, which for me as an Edmonton Oilers fan is a rarity.
Yeah. And maybe we'll be able to do some kind of thing. Maybe tomorrow after the game, do a little show, because that's obviously rare. Only twice a season that our teams play each other. That's tomorrow night. And then this weekend, back to back. And then we have one more Tuesday, but the back-to-back this weekend, like Dad mentioned earlier, I will be in attendance for the first time this season. I'll be actually going to Pittsburgh this time, so I won't be on the road. I won't be a road fan, which is nice.
Yeah.
But watching them play against Ottawa on Saturday and Tampa Bay on Sunday, which I couldn't ask for more in general, being able to go up there and watch the games and being able to afford to go and enjoy myself. But these games are going to be very important, which is kind of exciting for me to watch games that mean a lot in the standings right now. The Penguins win both of those games, they shoot themselves way up in the standings. And those are 2 games they can win. They've beaten both of those teams before. But it's going to be fun. Really excited. I leave Saturday morning, but it's going to be a great time to watch some very intense hockey. That's for sure. And then I'll be going back next month again for a couple games.
Mhm.
But I'm really excited. I'll be putting pictures and stuff throughout my trip on Facebook and stuff, and probably maybe do my post games obviously after the games are over, and hopefully get a lot of pictures for a couple days. And then I'll come back home Monday morning. And then the Penguins wrap up this week playing against Seattle on
Mhm.
Tuesday. So, I mean, the hardest game obviously is going to be against you guys. Y'all been
Yeah.
playing really well, but if they keep playing the way they have a chance in all these games to win. And if they can collect 5 to 6 points in the stretch, I think that's huge. There's a lot of teams that are sliding. So I'm overall okay with where we're at. We're right out of the wild card, and pretty much the games like that, the teams that played are pretty even. So the Penguins pretty much are right there. If anything, they move down 1 or 2 spots
Right.
when the teams catch up, but that can easily be made up in a blink of an eye. So there's
Mhm.
40 games left, and I feel really confident. I want them to make the playoffs so bad.
Mhm.
It would be,
Yeah.
even if they get beat, I don't care. Just seeing them in the playoffs will be,
Because once you get into the playoffs,
Yeah.
it's a totally
And
new
I mean,
season.
again,
Anything can happen.
if they don't make it, or if they don't win very much, okay, I just want them in.
Mhm.
However, there's been a lot of talk about the way that the standings are kind of shaping up, that it could be Pittsburgh, Washington
Mhm.
again in the playoffs,
Yeah.
which that would be nuts. And I mean, that's a matchup I could see us doing well in. Again, Washington's a team that over the years we've done really well against, being able just to match up.
Yeah.
Like them and the Rangers are teams we can just match up well. But yep, that's the week that was. The week upcoming, again, I'll document my trip this weekend,
Yeah.
and going to be a really good time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about the games in Pittsburgh, and I'm loving the fact that you're going to go out there and 2 times, and then you're going to do the Dallas game.
Well, and it's
here.
crazy when that's all said and done. And if that's saying I don't go to any more games, which I'm planning on at least trying one more, I would be at 9 Penguin games this season.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. I mean, if I can do, that's why I want to reach double digits, get to 10
Yeah.
at least. But that'd be like an eighth of the games that I've been to, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. I mean, it's doing something that I like to do, and that's my way of spending vacation. I don't, as much
Some
as like
people-
people like going like to Mexico
Yep.
or going to the beach or going whatever. I want to go to hockey games.
Well,
That's my vacation.
Me too. Like I took my birthday present to myself was going to Vegas
was cool to hear.
for the Oilers and Golden Knights, and you got to go next year to the Golden
Maybe
Knights
we'll make a
Penguins
trip
game.
out there.
Hey, yes.
What
Because
if they have an Oiler Penguin back to back?
oh,
Wouldn't that be
that
something?
would be if we could if we can convince the schedulers to do that, that would be
Gary
great.
Bettman tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll call Gary. All right. Well, as far as the Oilers were concerned, one of the better weeks they've had since we were last on. They went 4-0-0, and the most recent was well, let's go backwards. At New Year's Eve, they won 4-1 against Utah, so they've beaten Utah
That's a
twice
tough team.
now. Utah is. I saw a report. Everybody's picking them as a sleeper team in
I
the
agree.
playoffs.
I agree.
I think they're going to get into the wild card in the West.
I think that crowd is really good, and that team is playing
Yeah.
really well. I mean, they are playing good from top to
You
bottom.
have to-
Goaltending, yeah.
You have to play a 60-minute game against Utah.
Mhm.
You can't just sleep on them because
No,
they're even last year when they were Phoenix, you couldn't really sleep on them.
no,
No, but
they're a good team.
So it was a
That's a
4-1
team
win.
that I want to see success
Yeah.
with.
I want to see them get a new logo. I want to see
Next year.
Then they beat Anaheim 3-2 last Friday, and then the Kraken 4-2 on Saturday, and then last night a
Happy about this
shootout,
one.
a shutout against the Boston Bruins, where the Boston fans booed the team off the ice. Now in this game, it was a 4-0 shutout, but Stuart Skinner got run
Yeah.
into by Zadorov in the first period. So he left with about 5 minutes left in the first period. Calvin Pickard came in, didn't face a shot. Right, he did not face
Wow.
a shot.
Okay. I
then
didn't really watch.
Yeah, and then Stu came because I looked back at the
shot clock.
shot clock, and when Pick was in, he didn't have a shot
Hey.
on net.
That's good.
Yeah, so
Okay.
technically, it's a split shootout, which in the history of the Edmonton Oilers has happened 3 times. Guess the score of all 3 games. 4-0. It was 4-0 last night. Last March, it was 4-0 against Pittsburgh. Pickard started. He got hurt. And then
Oh.
Skinner. And then in 85, January 8th of 85, they beat Quebec 4-0. And it was Grant Fuhr and Andy Moog that shared. So it's kind of
That's
like,
I think that's a pretty cool thing they get every now and then. Like have both goalies control, even though that pick didn't face anything. That's cool.
so, okay,
Right.
well, let me ask you that. If your backup goaltender has to go in for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever,
Yeah.
if he doesn't face a shot, should you give the full shutout to the starting goaltender?
I mean, they still get one each.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, they both were in the net, and no matter if you face a shot or not, you're in the game. You're playing.
Mhm.
It's not his fault that he didn't see anything. That's good on his team, if anything. But I think both of those, honestly, both goalies are probably ecstatic for each other.
Yep.
Stu is probably as happy for Pick as Pick was for Stu to
And
get it.
Stu played probably one of his best games.
And those guys, they just want to win. So
Yeah.
they're happy. They won the game.
Yeah.
And it's just more of a funny achievement that you don't see.
The best sequence last night
Oh,
was a
yes.
shorthanded break for the Bruins, stopped by Skinner, and it turned around to be a power play goal on a breakaway for Connor McDavid. Probably one of the best sequences.
That was pretty cool. And it was fast too. It was
It
like
was-
5 seconds.
It was like
from
5
that.
seconds, and it made it 2. It made it 2-0. It could have been 1-1, and it made it 2-0. So the Oilers, 7-3 in their last 10 games.
That's good.
I think I saw something that in the last 2 months they've had the best record in the NHL.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Um,
You know what I will say?
What?
Both of our teams have marched in the TD Garden and won this year already.
Yep.
So
Boston is in trouble.
we'll talk about that.
Boston's in big trouble. Leon Draisaitl's point streak ends at 14,
Hey.
and everybody was giving Arvidsson a hard time last night. Arvidsson got the empty net goal, and
Who cares?
Draisaitl was there, but Arvidsson thinking, well, if I pass it to Draisaitl,
He could.
he there was a guy there, he may not have gotten it.
Yeah.
So I just want to put the
You
puck in the
want
net.
to. You want to win the game. I don't think Dry doesn't give a car.
Because he can start another one.
Yeah, Dry doesn't care. He's like,
No.
you'd rather win the game than give up the puck where it gives Boston a chance to come back. Because
Yeah.
that's a team that any team in the NHL can. But yeah, y'all are looking really good. All 4 lines are rolling. Goaltender's looking good.
I like the move that they made and of moving Zach Hyman down to the third line with Uncle Rico and Janmark.
Yeah.
That to me, you're taking Zach Hyman, who's been on the top line forever. Is that a move down? Well, I don't know, because now that third line is starting to produce.
Is Connor Brown on line 1? Right?
Connor Brown is
Right.
on line 1.
Okay.
So you've got 3 lines that can produce, and then you got your 4th line that can muck it around, and they can produce too.
Yeah.
So I like this. And then you got the second line is the best line, the
Yeah.
Draisaitl line. So again, tomorrow
Yeah.
is the battle of the best boys, Oilers in Pittsburgh. And I said to you earlier, I'm more afraid of the Pittsburgh Penguins today than I was when you were in Edmonton, because they were really
They were not
hurting.
looking very good.
But this is a team that they can score on you, and they've got some momentum, even though they haven't won a lot. They've gotten points. So yeah, it's going to be a much different game than it was when you saw them in Edmonton.
I mean, this would, you know what? I think it would be such a momentum boost for the Penguins if they could somehow win that game,
Mhm.
because you're playing such a good team, a team that we have not beaten in years. And to get that done before you play really 3 games in 4 days, that'd be such a huge momentum boost, especially when they're playing at home. But it's going to come down to the start, because that's what's really killed the Penguins is the start of these games. A stat I'm not really proud of, and it's not like an absolute like a exact down to the science stat, but Tristan Jarry, if he's starting tomorrow, has let in so many goals early in the game, like first shot of the game. And it's like, you don't, against a team like the Oilers, especially, you do not want to do that, because you're down, you're in a hole. And I mean, shutting out a lot of teams and holding teams to little goals. But I think the one big difference I really could see tomorrow being, because again, from 3 months ago to now, the power play for the Penguins has been really good.
Mhm.
And I feel like that could be maybe an Achilles heel for y'all if y'all take a lot of penalties tomorrow, because the PK for you guys is a bit lower. It's still not terrible, but it's lower in the record for sure. And I really think that the Penguins could be. The one thing we really have to watch out for tomorrow to see what this looks like is Malkin's been hurt. He was supposed to play last night, and he got scratched last minute due to an upper body injury. He did skate this morning, was a participant in practice, and he had full contact, but it's not for sure if he'll be able to play tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We're also down Tomasino right now. He got I don't know if you saw the hit, a nasty collision in the boards. It was not a dirty play, but a nasty, like, just fall into the boards that really got his knee jammed up in the Florida game. And he's been out for a couple of games. He's again been skating, which is good news that he's skating. That means he should be back soon. It would be a huge boost if we could get Malkin back. But if not, I've liked the way this team has played, scoring up and down the lineup. But it's going to be a very interesting matchup. I'm just hoping at the end of the day for a good game. These last few games we played against you guys have been not good. Blowouts, shutouts. I want to see, number one, a lot of goals would be cool. But even just a close game. If we could each get a point in that game, I'd be really happy with that too.
I'm thinking Stu would get the start tomorrow.
Yeah, because then y'all play Chicago after
we
that.
play
And I feel
Chicago.
like we put Pick in then.
You play Saturday in Chicago and then Monday at home to LA.
I feel like if you're out of those two teams, Chicago and Pittsburgh, who you're going to be more afraid of to score, probably Pittsburgh, because still Sid's wanting to carry that team in, and Raquel again, like I said,
you always got to worry about Sid
scoring.
Crosby.
Raquel's been scoring a crap load of goals, and I mean, you got to. I think that's more than likely.
It's. I'm expecting a really good game out of this one.
I'm excited.
So news out of LA, of course, the Flames Kings game that was supposed to be tonight is postponed due to the wildfires in California, and we pray for the people in California and the wildfires. It looks just terrible. But so that game has been postponed. They're not sure when they're going to
probably. I bet you they'll be just moved at the end of the season, like the last week or so, and they'll just have them play it back to back.
It was announced today that there's going to be two outdoor games in Florida in 2026. The Winter Classic will be in Florida with the Panthers, and they're going to be taking on the Rangers at Lone Depot.
Yep, the home of the Marlins.
The
Miami Marlins.
So it's going to be interesting because it's a quasi-covered stadium.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll come down to, like, when it gets closer to the game, if it's not going to be cold enough, they might have to have it in an indoor Winter Classic.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, would be just a different atmosphere in general because it's a baseball field. But I think it does take away from the game if it's not outdoors. We have seen it done in Dallas, so you never know what it could happen. But going to be very unique. But they're more than deserving of it. They've been a great team for a while, and they won the Stanley Cup. So, and I think in general, it's a pretty good game. I mean, the Rangers again right now are not looking good, but that's a good game. I like that matchup a lot better than like the St. Louis Chicago game this year.
Yeah,
that's going to be a good game. That's going to be one I want to watch. But I would have liked to see Tampa and Florida.
Yeah, and I wonder why they did, because they had Tampa doing a stadium series against Boston on February 1st of 2026.
I think it would have been cool to give Utah one.
This early?
Yeah. I mean,
that's perfect.
That's a franchise that is brand new. Those fans are really passionate. Utah's a great place for hockey.
Yeah, and you got a big stadium with the University of Utah. You
that'd
can play
be great.
Right there.
Maybe the year after they'll consider.
Yeah.
I got to talk about this. You mentioned earlier, a couple teams struggling. Number one is Boston. Rut-row.
Oh, it's big time.
Okay. So Boston just earlier this year fired Jim Montgomery as their head coach. They brought in Joe Sacco. They're currently third in the Atlantic, but that's not going to last because, again, Tampa Bay's got 5 games in hand and they're only a point or two behind. That's not going to last very long.
No.
Boston is in trouble. And I'm going to pull up my standing sheet because I didn't print it this time. Whoops, by accident. But I'm going to bring this in to talk about as well with the Eastern race, how close it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Boston's at 43 games played, and they got 45 points. Tampa's at 38 games of 44 points. So they just got to either make it to OT or win a game, and that's it. And they play Boston tomorrow night. So that's going to be a big game. Boston.
Is it in Boston?
No.
Oh, it's in Tampa.
That's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa just beating Carolina last night, too.
Yeah.
So if Boston, they've lost 5 straight games. They're 43 games, 45 points. To put that in perspective, if they lose tomorrow, and let's say, they lose tomorrow, the Penguins win, the Jackets win, they're out of the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And Ottawa's a team that's down there too, that's got a lot less games played than everybody else. So they've got a really big advantage.
Yeah.
But Boston's in trouble. And I think if you look at that, there's a lot of concern to be coming out of there because they have more games played than everybody else, and they've already made a big change this season, and it doesn't seem to work. Like it's just they lost to the Islanders the other night, and then y'all came into town and beat them. This is again 5 straight losses. I want to see who they're playing their next couple games. But they got ahead to Tampa tomorrow to play the Lightning, which is not going to be probably very fun or easy. And then they play Saturday against Florida.
Okay, well, yeah.
I mean, what do you?
Yeah, you go from the frying pan to the fire.
Yeah, and then after that, let's see who they got on Tuesday. Tampa again in Boston.
So they could lose their next 3.
Yeah, and I mean, again, the race is so close that you can't afford to lose many games. You wonder what's going to be changing there, if they're going to try anything out because that's a team again that's capable of doing well. But they're on and they're fine. I mean, that's why again I bring up earlier the Penguins getting points and losses is big because they're getting points while the Bruins are losing and for the most part aren't getting any.
Well, it sure shows that Allmark going to Ottawa was a huge
and I mean I don't
thing.
put it on Swayman either because he's still a really good goalie, but I feel like though they have, I mean, in my opinion, have been watching the Bruins really not particularly, but I feel like they haven't been scoring very much either. So Swayman's letting in 2 or 3 or 4 a night, but you got to help him out a little bit.
And this was the team that 2 years ago they had the best overall record ever.
They definitely made a big mistake letting Omar go, and actually, no, I'm not going to, but for Ottawa's sake, because Omar's a great goalie. He's unfortunately hurt for this weekend. Thank God Omar's hurt because I don't have to see him stone us like he did earlier.
Yeah.
But that was a great goalie they let go. And for what reason, I don't know. That was a dumb decision.
Because they had the best tandem that I could remember
in a while. Probably one of the best ever.
In a long time.
And then they get Corpusalo as their backup, which not dissing on him. But he's not
no,
Allmark. And
not.
Allmark's proved valuable.
Corpusalo is okay, but he's
and Allmark's proved valuable for the Sens. I mean, he's been he's been carrying him to winning.
Corpusalo wasn't the guy he was in LA.
Then I feel like he wasn't great in LA either. But I mean, you look at the other side of the spectrum. Detroit's won 5 straight games now. Montreal is
coming up.
Again, Columbus, I talked about them. This race is going to be close.
Montreal were like dead in the water, and now they're all of a sudden they're in it.
I really think, though, I just feel like a couple teams like that are just a step away. Like Montreal, Columbus is another one I feel like is just a step away from getting in. They'll be close, but I could see them later on in the season going on a little bit of a skid that kind of carries them out.
Yeah,
but those are teams that again in a few years
they don't have the experience of being in the playoffs.
No, and those are teams in a few years that are going to be one of the best.
Yeah. Ovi's 23 away from Gretzky's record, 42 games to go this season. Okay, that's he's ever since he came back, I think he's got 3 goals?
Yes.
Since he come back? I don't know. We could see history.
If he just gets a couple of big games, a couple 2-goal games, or maybe a hat trick in there, that changes the complexion. I definitely think though, anytime the Caps have a chance at empty net, they're going to keep him out there.
They're going to keep him out there.
Want him to get the record. I could see it being close again. I don't think it will happen this season, but it's going to be close.
It's going to be close.
I'm happy to see him.
It's almost like you want to say if he gets close, he gets like within 5, 6, then you could plan the whole Gretzky tour. Gretzky following him for the first few games.
And I'd hope that when it
season.
gets to that point that they throw him on TV a lot.
Yeah,
they got it.
I'm sure they will.
If it gets to like where he's like a few away starting next season, the Caps better be on TV for the first few games of the season, or maybe not the first couple because he won't catch it probably after one game. But if he gets like within 2 or 3, put them on TV every night because we're going to be watching.
Because this is history.
Yeah,
that nobody thought was ever going to happen. We're at the halfway point of the season for the most part. Everybody's played pretty close to the half. All right, so we're going to do our predictions, our awards predictions. MVP.
I got to go Hellebuck.
Overall MVP.
He's been really good.
I'm going with my guy, Leon Draisaitl.
There's plenty of good picks in there. I really could see the final 3 being Hellebuck,
McKinnon,
and Draisaitl. On Honestly, one thing I've thought about too that would be pretty cool. Again, it's not really possible, but it'd be cool is if they just did it this year, just to give it to Gaudreau this year, even though he's not a player.
I wonder if they'll. I'm wondering if they will change one of the awards.
I think that'd be a pretty cool. Or if like you gave 2 MVPs, one to him,
Maybe
and
the
one to,
Lady
like, a
Bing.
player.
Maybe like the Lady.
Because that's definitely, but
or the Selke.
Yeah, but I think personally for me, I have Hellebuck. Dreisaitl's not a bad pick. Neither is McKinnon.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a good closeout there
All right, Art Ross
for leading point
for
scorer.
leading points.
I feel like McKinnon or Kucherov could be there too. I think McKinnon.
I think I got either Draisaitl or Rantanen.
Okay.
But again, I go Draisaitl because I watch him every night.
Yeah, you know what he's capable of.
And I know, exactly what he's capable of. The Vezina Trophy.
Oh, Hellebuck.
Yeah, Connor Hellebuck. You got Markstrom in the mixed Stolars.
Yes, Markstrom. I think you could honestly, depending on how they finish, you could have all Mark there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Hellebuck's the clear cut. There's no doubt.
Now, this one is not clear cut.
Mm-hmm.
The Calder, the Rookie of the Year.
It's either going to be, I think, well, you could look at 3 guys: Macklin Celebrini, Lane Hudson,
Yep,
Dustin Wolf from Calgary. He's been money in the net. I think though it's going to be okay. I could see it being Hudson because he's leading. Is he leading defenseman or rookie defense?
Yeah, he's leading rookie defenseman in
points.
I think he's leading Montreal overall, isn't he?
But at the same time, I feel like Celebrini is just such a good player.
But Celebrini, I don't think is a shoe-in for Calder.
No, I think it's going to be between him and Hudson. The only thing I think that could take Hudson away is I feel like defensively he's not that great. But we've seen, like for the Norris, Erik Karlsson won the Norris a couple of years ago, 101 points. Not the greatest defensively, but boy, could he rack up points.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. That's actually going to be. But you know what? I will say the Sharks have been such a fun team to watch, despite their record. They're not going to make it the playoffs, but they've been a fun team. Mm-hmm. They have been. They've been exciting to watch, and it's nice to see those fans in the arena. That there's a lot more fan support because
it's back to the way it was in San Jose.
One thing too, I want to mention here while we're on talking about. Gosh, it was just in my head. Let me think. Regarding we were talking about
awards, and we were talking about San Jose.
A bit of history last night. Sid officially has won the most faceoffs in NHL.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's been at least recorded, but cool stat there. I mean, he again takes a lot of faceoffs, and I mean he's pretty darn good at them. It's you'll get to see it tomorrow watching the game, but it's so fascinating to watch him do the draws. Like you'll see him when he goes on the backhand, how he's able just to scoop it there, and even like the forehand draws, he's able just to go with such power and just drive it to the board.
And for people that don't really understand the game of hockey, winning a face-off is not easy because you've got its timing with the linesman dropping the puck or the referee dropping the puck. You've got to figure out if you're weak better on your backhand or your forehand. Then you got to make sure the other guy doesn't get the puck. And now with all these crazy rules, you've got to have your stick at a certain spot.
It's not easy. It's pretty fascinating to see how just dominant he is in the dot.
Yeah.
Now I remember what I wanted to say. The one thing I've noticed watching the Penguins play lately that, again, you'll get to observe tomorrow, how great, in my opinion, lately that Erik Karlsson has been playing. He has been out of this world. He's made some unreal plays. You saw the post I made this morning about Raquel's goal. That pass that he made, that was Karlsson that made that pass.
Yeah.
He's been playing really well. They've actually been using him on the penalty kill, which I think has improved his defensive game. But offensively, it's crazy to see, even at his age that he's at, how much of a factor he is. And he's an unreal breed of defenseman. He's able to drive in by himself, and it's fascinating. It's really cool.
That's why I'm nervous about this game tomorrow, because they're become, in the last 2-3 months, 2-3 months, a solid hockey team again. They're the Pittsburgh Penguins of 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, they were at a worse point this year than they ever were last year. They were 7-12-4, and now they're 17-17-7, which a lot of OTLs, but that's points.
Yep.
And last year, I mean, this team was struggling to get OT points.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I mean, it's going to be an intense game. I hope it swings my way this time, but hopefully tomorrow maybe we can do something
yeah,
after the game.
this is
But-
the
so-
2 games of the year
but-
where I don't enjoy the Oilers beating the
No.
other team.
Now, before we begin to wrap up, I want to get, even though we've already talked about this so many times, before we face off tomorrow, final thoughts on tomorrow's game, Pittsburgh, Edmonton in Pittsburgh.
I just think the Oilers are a good road team. They've been one of the better road teams. They've only lost 5 games on the road this year. Their 4 lines are running really well. The 6 defensemen are playing great. They're still, I think they're patching up the holes defensively. The goaltending has been solid, but you're going to walk into Pittsburgh. You're going to see a team now that has lost 3 overtime games in a row, and they can smell the playoffs. That's a dangerous team that can smell the playoffs, and they want that second point like nobody's business.
Yep.
You know, McDavid's going to be McDavid. Dreisaitl's going to be Draisaitl. The key is that 3rd and 4th line. If the Oilers can go in there, muck things up, have a lot of ozone time, and do a lot of forechecking, I think they've got a shot at this game. If they back off like they have against, and I'm not saying Pittsburgh's weak,
Yeah,
but
no, I know what you
they're,
mean.
but they tend to back off a little bit thinking, well, this might be an easy night. They have to play against Pittsburgh like they played against Boston last night. Total domination. I don't think it's going to be the 4-0 game that you saw earlier. I don't think it's going to be the 4-0 game we saw last year.
No.
It's not going to be a blowout. There could be a lot of goals, and you're right. The power play, the penalty kill, special teams could be a key in this game.
For me, I'll say this. There's been a couple of changes to the team that weren't there when I went in Edmonton. So a couple of things you'll have to watch for when you're watching the game from our side. The bottom 6 has been just really good at grinding out the game.
Mm-hmm.
One guy you'll really want to watch out for is Blake Lizotte, number 46. You're going to see how aggressive he is on the forecheck. He is like an Energizer bunny. The puck's in the corner here, and by the time he gets to the other corner, he's beating the guy to the puck. So it's going to be interesting. Puljujärvi should be in the lineup tomorrow. He went back in last night. He played phenomenal.
I saw that he got picked up again.
If there's one man that the whole NHL can rely on to step up or fear, it is number 87.
87.
That's going to be such a great matchup. I'm hoping for a great game. I'm interested to see how the power play does tomorrow. If y'all take penalties, last time actually, I don't think y'all took a penalty when I was in Edmonton. I really don't think y'all took a penalty.
The Oilers are pretty disciplined about penalties. Sometimes they get a little crazy.
I don't think y'all took a penalty, so that'll be interesting to see the power play against y'all for the first time. Special teams will be key in this game. How the top lines match up against each other. I think, though, the real key to this game that you mentioned is the bottom 6. Which bottom 6 is going to be better?
Yeah.
So you've got a bottom 6, both bottom 6s really that have been contributing to the goal scoring.
Yep.
The one guy, too, that y'all are going to have to watch out for is Michael Bunting.
Mm-hmm.
How is he going to create havoc in the net and in front and really muck things around with the Oilers and try to get in their heads, and especially on the power play? But what are they gonna do to stop him? Because he's the guy that's not afraid to get in there and get in your face and stir things up in the corner.
And I think one of the players for the Oilers that's going to that could cause some problems for Pittsburgh is Brent Kulak.
Yes.
Kulak has turned out to be one of the best defensemen offensively and defensively. And when he gets the puck out of his own zone, you trust him with the puck going up like in the middle of the ice.
All right. To wrap things up, one last question about this game. Besides, we'll take out the big guns. Actually, no, we can keep take out McDavid and Crosby, and we'll say Draisaitl and Malkin. Okay. The 2 best from each team. Who is your player to watch tomorrow from the Edmonton Oilers?
Podkolznik.
Okay.
I think he is on that line with Draisaitl and Arvidsson. He makes things happen.
Okay.
That's the guy you got to watch for.
Okay.
Who do we got to watch
Mine's a
for?
tie. So I've already mentioned Blake Lizotte, so I won't say that again. Number 1, Rickard Rakell.
Yep.
Scoring like crazy. And when you know as good as anybody, especially watching your guys, when you're on a heater, you're just on a heater.
Mhm.
Everything he's touching is practically going in the net.
Yeah.
I'm expecting him to be shooting it a lot. I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if he gets 6+ shots tomorrow because he's just confident. He's rolling. Anything he's touching is pretty much going in. Another guy I think is going to be a factor is Brian Rust. I think he is.
Oh, he's always a factor.
Okay. He's one of the most underrated players, I think, in the NHL. He is such like a workhorse guy. He can fit anywhere they put him, but he's paired so well with Sid. But my guys watching out for Raquel Rust. Easy.
Okay. Going to be a good game tomorrow night. I think it's a 6 o'clock start here in in Central Time Zone.
I'm gonna be my phone. I'm gonna be tapping my feet all day. I'm gonna be ready for this.
I'm going to be sitting there in my office watching it, and it's just going to. I love when Pittsburgh and Edmonton play. There's going to be a time when you and I go to a Pittsburgh Edmonton game. But we look forward to your stuff this weekend from the Steel City.
Excited.
And I'm actually going to be going up to Dallas for an extra game this year
against
too.
Against the Flyers.
So that's going to so we'll take care of Philadelphia.
That helps.
And I got a Jake Ottinger t-shirt because Otter's my guy in Dallas. So I've decided
he's one of my favorite goalies.
He's one of my favorite.
Both agree.
Yeah. I love Stu, but I love Jake Otter. He's my guy. So again, the podcast is going to be available to watch back on Facebook here in just a little while, as soon as we're done. And then tomorrow on the Refocused Radio Network, thanks to Shemaya Reed, you'll be able to see the YouTube broadcast on there. Check out our other podcast. You can also get us on Spreaker tomorrow. We'll do a post game either on TikTok after the Penguins and the Oilers games. And then watch for stuff from Carson. We'll be posting a lot of stuff.
This weekend we'll do a live together when I'm at the arena because I'm going to get there early.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a live.
Get some shots from PPG Paints Arena. Yeah,
from Pittsburgh. Thank you everybody for supporting us, and we're going to be on our regular night, Tuesday night next week. And again, thank you. And as I always say, because Carson loves it so much, in the meantime and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.
Every week.
That's my thing.